Hi, my name is Corey Teffs, and I'm going to be presenting my IB research project on Kale Alzil shadow puppets. So essentially what they are the, start over, I was going to say they're essentially puppets. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. I know, I started to laugh because I can't do it. Okay. Is it still recording?
Mm-hmm.
Let us cut it. Ready?
Say cut here, Mr. Reed.
Cut.
Just say action.
And ready?
Action.
Hi, my name.
Never mind. Cut. And action.
Hi, my name is Corey Teffs, and I'm going to be presenting my IB research project on Kal Alzil shadow puppets. Kal Alzil translates to shadows of the imagination or shadows of the fancy, as they were more popularly known back in their time. The name is supposedly given to it as a disclaimer of what the nature of the stories will be presented about. Essentially, they're meant to be a mystery to the audience, so it's not designed to give a specific meaning or specific story. It's just almost just for entertainment. It was intended for the audience members to know what they were watching was not real, and to make sure that they knew that this was all made up out of the imagination and that these were strictly puppets, not actors. They originated back in the 10th century. They were founded in Cairo in Egypt during the 13th and 14th century. That's when they peaked at their highest. I hate speaking. Okay, hang on.
Cut here, Mr. Reed.
Obviously, Mr. Reed.
I bet he loves watching our IB theater things because we're all like.
That's the last time, okay? If we mess up, we're
Chris,
doing
I'm
that.
gonna do one take.
I did, but then I hate reading. Like, I'm fine with like making stuff up. As soon as I have to read, I'm like, please hold your laughter till after. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Take a deep breath.
Shut up.
Little collagen form in your skin.
Okay, ready?
Okay. Action.
Hi, my name is Corey Teffs, and I'm going to be presenting my IB research project on Kal Alzil shadow puppets. Kal Alzil translates to shadow of the imagination or shadow of the fancy, as they are more commonly known as. The name is supposed to be given as a disclaimer of what the nature of the stories presented will be, but the main goal of this type of theater is for it to be mysterious and to let the audience know that this is not real. Its intentions are for the audience members to know that everything that they're watching at the time is being made up, it's straight out of the imagination, and there's no true facts or actors given. It's just simply puppets and people telling stories. Shadow theater performances are thought to have begun as early as the 10th century, but mainly they peaked during the 13th and 14th century when people started to get into entertainment and thought that almost theater was a way of passing time. Nearly 600 to 700 years ago, Kal Alzil puppetry became popular as a form of entertainment for people in places such as Egypt. They are performed everywhere, such as in like palaces and homes, but they are mainly performed during events such as weddings, the nights of Ramadan, and during like big life achievements. Kal Alzil uses many different characters, and their stories were always allegorical. Typically, they lean towards Islamic stories. This was one of the most popular puppets of the time. Since it was in Egypt, they often use animals and kings to represent things that the people who were watching it were familiar with. All the plays follow a similar structure. They usually begin with some sort of like joyful, upbeat dance scene, or almost like a party piece. They always begin with happiness, and then the ending varies. They usually end in either a joyful dance or a battle. They have to make it very clear on which one they're doing so that the audience members will know if this is a happy or a sad story. They all had one stock principal character. The Makadim, it's basically the presenter or the narrator of the story, which is often the person who is the puppeteer who is controlling the puppets, and they don't always speak, but they're always present. Many of them reflect social standards or a significant event of the time period. Big events help playwrights develop creative ideas. One of the big ones was the Ottoman Empire control. They went as far, like they still occurred during World War I, World War II. It's basically, they reflect events that impacted their society. This is one of the most famous examples by Ivan Daniel. This is one of his evil characters, and like I said, not all of them have speaking roles, but a lot of them are simply visual, but this one in specific was one that did have a script and did have lines. It says, "I'm sharper than a lancet, I croak better than a frog. I can break in like a passkey, and I'm rougher than a cob. I'm brighter than the brightest star, more crooked than a spiral. My capacity is endless, and I'm a dangerous and dire." This is an excerpt from Ivan Daniels' play, but this is just a good example of what they typically do look like. The key factors that stick out in almost all of them that do have speaking roles are they use simple sentences, simple subjects, broad, because they can't be very specific when you have 1,000 people watching it. Not everyone could relate to it, so you have to make the subject very broad and appropriate to that audience. Especially when you have speaking roles, it's a little bit easier to portray what you're trying to get across, but when you perform something that's purely visual, you have to make it very broad and very almost able to be interpreted different ways by different audience members. These are my sources. And I'm going to be performing a piece that is about two people who disagree with who there's a leader in their town that they dislike, and they're doing their best to almost overrule this leader, but they come across some obstacles along the way. Thank you.